So, Rax, how are you? This would be me walking up to Rickard Rakell's stall at any point in this past NHL season. He'd come back. And I'd be like, no, I don't know. Why don't you tell me? It's tough right now. And that's how it went the whole way through for all 6 months. And I still have no idea why. Good morning to you. Good Thursday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also happen to offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. Rakell finished with the strangest season, but it was because he had the strangest of starts. He played so well through the Penguins' opening 6 weeks and could not buy a goal, and in fact did not score a goal until his 20th game of the season, and even that followed a 1-month absence to an injury, which made it feel like that much longer. He ended up with 15 goals and 22 assists in 70 games, so he had something of a decent recovery, and he was part of that late season surge almost into the playoffs. But he wasn't himself. If you look at what he was able to do with the Penguins the previous season, all 82 games played, 28 goals, 32 assists, 60 points, that's a top six forward. 60 points is something. 11 of his 28 goals came on the power play, and 10 of those came in the final 2 months when he was taking up the left wall position that's most familiar to Pittsburgh hockey fans as being the one that Phil Kessel would operate, coming off the boards, coming to the top of the circle, being a threat with a shot, distributing nicely, all that stuff, all that Phil stuff. And then this. If you're a cynic, and I've heard from those, I've even heard from a couple on the inside, you're looking at the fact that Rakell signed a 5-year extension. You're looking at maybe some sense that he fell off somewhat because he just became beyond set for life with that contract. And you're maybe thinking other negative thoughts. I don't get that from him. Okay? In any context. I really don't. I'd like to think I can tell the difference after all this time in this position. But what I experienced instead, including when things started getting better for Rakell later in the season, was that he and Marcus Pettersson and Erik Karlsson became something of a Swedish trio within this operation. They pushed each other. They talked to each other. They made each other accountable. And if you know anything at all about either Pettersson or Karlsson, you'll know that they're made of really tough stuff when it comes to the intangibles. And they wouldn't have accepted anyone who was any different, whether he was Swedish or not. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. So my feel on Rakell entering the coming season is that, and I'm sure he's going to speak to this whenever training camp opens, he's got a lot to prove to himself in terms of the way he starts. And I don't just mean starts a season. I mean starts games. I mean he needs to come out like a house on fire more often right after the opening faceoff, not just whenever the game motion starts pushing him into it. He is now on the wrong side of 30, but he has, between his size and his speed and his hands, some uncommon skill, really, for the NHL. And he had that going back to when he first showed up in the league in Anaheim. Never really took it too far, never really became a guy that you could count on for 30 If you got it, you were happy with it, but you kind of expected it at the same time. Do you know what I'm saying? But when he came to Pittsburgh, you could see that there was a fit. You could see that he could make things happen both for himself and for others in the attacking zone. You also saw someone who was reasonably responsible in the defensive zone. And that's why, honestly, I just can't get over, to this day, the slump over the first 6 weeks, the failure to score a goal. Because after that, I would say probably in about the last 2 of those weeks, of those 6, you saw him start to really fight things. You saw him start to squeeze his stick. But in the first month, I mean, he was just doing everything right except getting one. And I mean, that's somebody that you bet on. You know what hockey coaches say at all levels. If you're getting chances, you're doing fine. But he's going to want to put a few of those away this coming October. And I'm more than confident he's going to get that opportunity because he is absolutely a top 6 in this lineup. When we come back, J1Q. Today's J1Q comes from Michael, who says, with an exclamation point, "Hey DK, I know what the core can do, but besides them, who will be that player who brings the capital T toughness next year?" I'm not talking about who's going to be the biggest guy or the hardest hitter. I'm talking about who'll be the one to turn off the lights in the weight room, to put in the work, and to really carve out a spot for themselves. You know, that Pittsburgh hardworking toughness. I think I know what you're getting at, Michael. And I'm going to come up with a lazy answer for you, I guess, in saying that that's almost always going to be Chris Letang for as long as he's here. But I think you're asking for something beyond, like you said, the core and the guys that you know you can count on to work in that way. Erik Karlsson's another one. He sets an example for not just the defenseman. Everyone sees what he does off the ice. Letang sees what Karlsson does off the ice, and it motivates him to be more Letang-like than ever. That was a really, really neat thing, that if the previous season had gone better for the team overall, would have been quite the story, and I'm sure everybody would have appreciated it. And another guy who fits into this category, and again doesn't necessarily get the credit for it, is Marcus Pettersson. It's just his everything, his intangibles, his work ethic, his drive. He turned himself into the team's steadiest defenseman this past season, and that's not something that everybody had forecast, to say the least. But the guy I'm going to point to on this is someone who's yet to play his first game in a Pittsburgh sweater, and that's Kevin Hayes. I don't know how much the general fandom has gotten into looking into Hayes' history, about what kind of hockey player he is, but also what kind of human he is. He is someone who has been very, very popular internally everywhere he's played, and he's coming off what he himself has acknowledged was a rough season in St. Louis, a real setback for him in a lot of ways. I have a feeling Pittsburgh's going to like him a lot. He shoots straight. Shoots straight on the rink. Yeah, he scores some goals. He shoots straight in his interviews and so forth. He's no nonsense. He'll stand up after losses the same he will after wins. And also, at least a little bit relevant to this, dude is really funny. You're going to find that out. So I could see, presuming the team keeps Lars Eller, as I believe that they will, between your 3 and 4 centers, in whatever order they happen to go. That stuff really doesn't matter much. A depth chart is a depth chart in hockey. But I think you could have 2 guys in those center positions at 3 and 4 who are real role models for the rest of the process. And from there, if you get what it is that you hope for and have some younger players around them, or at least as many younger players as deserve to be around them, meaning that you'd want them to perform well, not just be handed those spots, you could finally have yourself a nice mix on that bottom 6. So on that unintentional rhyme, we're going to call it a day here. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins. We're going to do one more of these this week tomorrow.